أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وجعلناهم أئمة يهدون بأمرنا وأوحينا إليهم فعل الخيرات وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وكانوا لنا عابدين. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد. Dear Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Congratulations on the birthday anniversary of Imam Ali ibn Musa Redha alayhi afdal salawat wa tahiyyat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. May the Almighty God grant us the opportunity to visit His shrine in His ghurba, in His loneliness, being far from the city of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in Mashhad, inshallah, in this world, and grant us the shafa'ah of this Imam and his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the hereafter. We say loneliness because in terms of their preference, the Imam himself and the preference of Ahlul Bayt is to be near their grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and near other Imams of Ahlul Bayt and near their mother and so on. So their number one preference would have been to be in Medina, both in terms of their life as well as their burial, the place of their burial. And obviously, if that is not the case, then closer, and especially amongst other members of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yet Imam Redha alayhi salam was forcibly taken by Ma'mun to the then borderline or borders of the Muslim Ummah, almost the borders of the Muslim Ummah, and far from any members of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And his burial happened to be in the same nature, far from Rasulullah or any other members of the holy family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Though so many people, when we say ghurba of Imam Redha alayhi salam, they suggest, well, the gharib today are those Imams who are perhaps not visited as often by the lovers of Ahlul Bayt because of the circumstances and how they are isolated in certain areas, like Imam Musa Imam specifically actually Imam Hadi and Imam al-Askari alayhim as-salam and al-Askariyayn, or even the shape and the way Baqiyah is for the Imams of Ahlul Bayt in terms of people visiting and the structure and so on. But when we speak of a spiritual aspect of the whole burial site, it is different to what we see. So they are pleased to be in the neighborhood or neighboring Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, despite the lack of the dome and any structure there. And it is in fact, the ghurba for Imam Redha alayhi salam where he is. And this is why the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding his loneliness and whoever visits him, as well as the hadith from his grandfather, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, as well as his own hadith that he says in there, that whoever visits me in my loneliness, I will be their shafi'ah, their intercessor, to enter them paradise. Inshallah, we get the opportunity to visit him and get his shafa'ah and the shafa'ah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Imam Ali ibn Musa Redha alayhi salam had a little bit of a different life to the rest of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Although all of them were unique, but they're all one in terms of their message, in terms of their preachings, and in terms of their characteristics and attributes. They all inherited the beautiful attributes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who imitated or basically tried to be and live by the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, this is what we all should be striving to develop or try to adopt the habits or the lifestyle of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who himself tried to be in the attributes or in line with the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, He was rahmatan lil alameen. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I will wait for private conversations to either end or take themselves elsewhere, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As I said, Imam Redha alayhi salam lived a different life in the sense that he was taken by force by Ma'mun, but put in a position that he became part of the political, or he had a political title at the time. The rest of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt did not have to suffer such a humiliation, and I'll explain what I mean. The Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam departed, the Imams, the Ummah decided on a Khalifa, or some of them got together in a place called Saqifat Bani Sa'ida, and they decided that this person will be the Khalifa. When they decided that and sidelined Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he remained there as a helper, supporter of Islam, a guide who answers the questions, clarifies when they fall into error, when they're about to execute someone in error, when they're about, which happened many cases. Our history is clear about them, when they're about to commit a major mistake, even in terms of their warfare and how they were approaching the enemies and so on. And when they were in danger, in serious danger by the enemy, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam was there to help and support and guide and clarify, but did not have to partake in the political, environment to be part of that system, so to speak. So he didn't have to have a title there. And that would be, in fact, against his wish or against his status. Because after all, he is Amir al-Mu'mineen. He is the one who Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam decided and appointed to be the Khalifa of Muslimin. Now, to be in any shape or form in that system, when he's not leading it, it's humiliation for him. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen did take the position of Khilafah after people came to him, he told many, this statement was not just to Ibn Abbas, it happened in multiple places where the Imam said, this whole system of Khilafah means nothing to me unless I'm able to bring justice to those who are oppressed. Bring the rights of those whose rights have been usurped and give it back to them. Unless I can do that, it means nothing. It's not even, it's less valuable than the sneeze of a goat, he says in one of his statements. This is how insignificant it is, because he's not after a political position. He's not after power. His aim is, again, the Imam's aim is to guide people. His aim is guiding people. And guiding people does not happen by force. لا إكراه في الدين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala declared there's no, you cannot force people to follow the religion or force people to believe, in fact. And this ayah is not, according to some, it's mansukh, it was before al-Fath and afterwards it was different. No, it was never the case that the Prophet would force people to become Muslim. Because that would make or bring into Islam nothing other than hypocrites. It always applied. Yes, it was declared by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that in the war, if you're fighting, and the enemy is fighting you and you're fighting back, which was not normally the case, or always the case. Therefore, in that situation, somebody decides to take his shahada and become part of the Muslim ummah. What happens then? They're immune. They get immunity. Yeah, they're no longer fighting you. It doesn't mean that he was forced to become Muslim. He was never forced to fight the Muslims in the first place. But now after fighting them, if he declares his shahada, that is immunity, despite what he had done before, they forgive him. And this was how it was happening. This is the misunderstanding historically in terms of people thinking that basically Islam was forced by the sword. Never. If they were fighting Muslims, and during that fight, they decided during that war, and war is not just one-on-one battle type thing. War goes on for months. During that war, if they decided to now no longer be in opposition, rather join the Muslim Ummah, then they would be immune. In any case, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi did not impose his guidance or leadership on people. When they came and wanted his guidance and wanted his leadership, he took charge and displayed justice how it should be, that in fact historians, non-Muslim historians, they say, in many of them, I can name many historians who commented on the justice of Imam Ali alayhi salam, non-Muslim historians or authors or thinkers who commented on his justice to say that he was by far the most just leader that human beings had ever witnessed. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. After Imam Hassan alayhi salam was the Khalifa for a short period of time. After that, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were indirectly, after Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his martyrdom, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt were indirectly in the bay'ah of the Khalifa. Indirectly, I'm saying, because they did not oppose, they did not stand and make another political party and so on. They were indirectly considered in the bay'ah of the Khalifa of their time. Part of the Muslim Ummah, not opposing, but they did not get involved with the Khulafa and did not take any positions, and they were guiding people, simply spreading knowledge and guiding people and realigning ideologies and thoughts. and clarifying. At times there were drifts happening in terms of theology and ideologies. They had to correct and realign and clarify for the Muslim Ummah in many regards, whether it be in jurisprudence or in the core of the belief, Tawheed, and understanding Tawheed, or Quran. Understanding Quran, clarifying the meanings of the ayat of the Quran, or clarifying what Quran actually is. There was a period of time where there was a debate whether Quran was created, whether it's makhlooq, or is not created, it's from the Creator, and there was a whole confusion over it, and many other aspects, including whether Quran was a direct revelation or the thoughts of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which nowadays we have some so-called Muslim thinkers who suggest or bring up such comments that it's the thoughts of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when this was responded to again about 1300 years ago by the Imams of Ahlul Bayt and many other fallacies or ideologies that were growing. So the Imams dedicated their lives to guiding the people, which is the role of the Imam. And if the people were ready for leadership, the Imam would have led. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt would have led. His grandfather, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, was approached by people, and they asked him, why don't you rise and fight and become the Khalifa, become the leader, the political leader? He said, I don't have enough supporters. The man said, we have many supporters for you. He said, well, supporters who understand Imam. How did he give him that answer? Some of you know the story. He told one of his servants in the house to set up some fire in the oven. When the fire was hot, he said to that person, go into the fire. The man was puzzled. Why are you? I'm sorry, I take it back. I didn't. Then the Imam told one of his students, he said, go into the fire. The man had just arrived. He did not ask why, how, did not even pause. He immediately went. And the Imam, then after a while, he came out just like the fire of Ibrahim ala nabina wa alayhi salam, did not touch him, did not affect him. Ya nar kuni bardan wa salaman ala Ibrahim. It was. The Imam was telling the man that you are not ready. You say you are ready as supporters, you are not ready. You don't understand the status of the Imam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a number of people around him who understood what is Rasulullah, though he had some around him who did not understand. One of his wives, in the Quran we read, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he told his messenger, God told his messenger of some secret that one wife let out, or some wives let out. So when he confronted them, she says to him, who told you that? Man anba'aka hada? Who told you? She didn't even acknowledge the fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has connection with an angel and with revelation. Did not even have that much faith. قالت من أنبأك هذا? I'm translating the Quran, literally Surah Al-Tahrim. قال نبأني, the one who knows everything is the one who told me. And that's why the ayah afterwards came, إن تتوبا إلى الله فقد صغت قلوبكما. You should repent and return to God because your hearts deviated, a deviation from faith altogether, not recognizing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the other hand, Amirul Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, during the life of Rasulullah, did not ask a question. A command comes, he follows the command. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, another one of those. The Prophet says to him, take these people and take them to Ethiopia. Take them to the then, or what is known as Ethiopia or Habasha. What was known, or in Arabic is known as Habasha. Take them. And no questions. There is no need to ask questions. Oh, it's a far land. What if the king doesn't welcome us? What happens? These are individuals around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who in fact supported Islam. When Ja'far ibn Abi Talib came back, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was like a huge deal for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he arrived back in Medina. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, I don't know which one I should be happier. It was one of the a'yad, if I'm not mistaken, Eid al-Adha, that we're coming to. That he said whether it be the Eid I should be happy about or the return of Ja'far. Such an important figure. Or Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Hamza. He had people like that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, when he was leading, he had people. One of them, we remember every Laylatul Jumu'ah, Kumayl. Kumayl is one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, one of his disciples. Malik al-Ashtar, read about these heroes and how they did not ask a question. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, the son of Abu Bakr and Salama, this great individual who eventually was also martyred, Radwanullah ta'ala alayh. These were Hawari, the disciples of Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayh. He had those people. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt afterwards, when they did not have, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam had a number of people, he rose. And his people, he says to them, I never saw companions like my companions. Never. And then we go on. From there, the Imams of Ahlul Bayt declared that they don't have support. People have not recognized the Imamah and the real position of the divine leader. And so none of them had to deal with rose to become a political leader because people are not ready. Imam Redha alayhi salam was put in that position, brought to Mashhad or Tus by Ma'mun. When he was brought, the plot against him was to make him part of the system of the Khilafah. Some Khulafa, it's very funny if you read the history and find how the Khulafa happened and how would one Khalifa become the Khalifa after the other. You'll find, first of all, there's absolutely no consistency in terms of a method that everybody followed. The first one was a group of people got together. The second one appointed by the first. The third one appointed by six, a council of six. That was, suggested by the second one. And he says, Omar, he says, if they don't come up with a Khalifa after 3 days, those 6 people, you kill all of them. This is literally what he suggested. I mean, based on what religion, I don't know. In any case, we move on from after Amir al-Mu'mineen. In fact, the only Khalifa in the Muslim Ummah, in the entire history of the Muslim Ummah, who was given bay'ah by the masses, if you want today's election, who was given bay'ah by the masses was Imam Ali alayhi salam. After the killing of the third Khalifa, people rushed to his house. Rushed, he describes it, he says, Hatta wuti al-Hasanan. They overstepped even Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, who were guarding the door, trying to keep people, slowly one by one. They stepped over them, coming like a stampede, in order to give bay'ah to Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salam alayhi. The only one. After that Khilafah, you look at all of Bani Umayyah. Muawiyah fought and deceived, fought Imam Ali alayhi salam. He lost the battle. They used the Quran plot. Then had the Khawarij ruining the whole thing. Despite that, went back to Sham, was out of the bay'ah of the Imam of his time. I don't know which Muslim considers him to be a Muslim, despite being out of the bay'ah and fighting the Imam of his time. That is Muawiyah. Then declaring himself a Khalifa after the peace treaty with Imam Hassan alayhi salam, declaring his son to be a Khalifa, poisoning Imam Hassan alayhi salam, ripping the peace treaty with the Imam, And from then on, it was a mess that you cannot even describe. Within the family, fighting each other, one killing the other, and so on, and then one family fighting the other. The story of Ma'mun himself at the time of Imam Redha alayhi salam suffices. That he orders for the beheading of his own brother. Ma'mun, read the history and what he did to Amin. Orders for the beheading of his own brother, brings the head and hangs it in front of his castle. This is the Khilafah for them. That kind of ruthless individual brings Imam Redha alayhi salam and wants to make him part of that system. Offers him the Khilafah. The Imam says to him, if Khilafah belongs to you, because Khilafah is a divine appointment. If it's yours from God, you have no right to give it to me. And if it's not yours from God, you have no right to give it to me. It's not yours to give. Either way, you have no right to give it. That offer is null and void from the start. Then he says, okay, now you don't want the Khilafah aspect. You now have no choice. You have to become basically the heir to the Khilafah, to the throne. Wali al-Ahd, as they call it in Arabic. You have to. The Imam knew that they are going to force that on him. He has no choice, so he put a condition there. He says, I will have no right to appoint or to fire anyone. None of that. Neither can I appoint someone in a position or fire someone from a position. In other words, it's only formal. It's not a real wilayat act. That's as far as I will accept from you. That much shame. Because for them putting the Imam in that position, it's a shame. They're trying to shame the Imam. And the Imam had it very difficult. The reason why his family members, including his sister Fatima al-Ma'suma, were coming and were stopped on the way, and so many of them were killed. So many were martyred in Sava, and eventually Fatima al-Ma'suma salamullah alayha was martyred with perhaps poison or even wounds after the battle in the city of Qom. All of that because they were coming to support him in his loneliness, the lonely position that he was in. They had him there and they were trying to use his position and his fame and the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Muslim Ummah has, therefore the love of his family and his lineage, and gain support through that and play a game to even weaken the Shia, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, by saying they're part of the system. They're no different. And the Imam proved to them that they are different. They tried the knowledge side. They brought people. So many debates occurred that became part of the treasures for the Muslim Ummah. That was a plot for them to expose the Imam, in their opinion, and show how he is not this person who can answer any question. So they brought all the scholars from all different parts of the Muslim Ummah, as well as other religious scholars from other religions, trying just to have a question not unanswered, because the Shia believe that the Imams are connected to divine knowledge and would have all the answers. An Imam would not be in a position that cannot answer a question. And this is what we believe, that a divine leader has to be taught and by God to a point that we have no question that can be unanswered. It's almost like coming to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asking him to explain an ayah in the Quran or explain a ruling, and he says, I don't know. How would I follow that messenger? And similarly, an Imam has to be in that position. If you read the books of the Aqidah, Aqaid al-Imamiyya, or any books, you'll find that whatever applies to the messengers in terms of knowledge, in terms of isma, to the anbiya, applies to the Imam. The difference is he has no new religion. He's not a prophet. There's no new rulings or religion. They're all under the banner of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So the Imam had a unique opportunity at the same time. Yes, they tried to humiliate him, but وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They have their plans, they have their plots, but God has His plan. And the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best. They devised a plan to humiliate the Imam and basically weaken the Shia. With what they did, they in fact gave more fame to the Imam and strengthened the Shia. This is the reality. To the point that Ma'mun, after the martyrdom of the Imam, after he ordered for the poison and he poisoned the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, in order to stop the uprisings against him, because Shia became even stronger, he made the son of the Imam, Imam Jawad alayhi salam, who had not even reached puberty. At the time, he had not even reached puberty in terms of the physical development. He made him marry his daughter. Ma'mun made Imam Jawad alayhi salam marry al-Fadl, the daughter of Ma'mun. And eventually, she was the cause of the martyrdom of Imam Jawad alayhi salam. Nevertheless, why did he do that? Because he realized not only did he not weaken the Shia, they became even stronger. Not only did he not humiliate the Imam, he showed the world how knowledgeable are the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. It's just a formal thing. Nevertheless, what gave fame to the Imam is the opportunity to speak to the people and guide the people. Because they are the guides. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ. I began with this ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes some of Anbiya Bani Israel, and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt are by far in a greater position and have a greater responsibility than Anbiya Bani Israel. You may say, well, this is a prophet, this is not a prophet. The issue is we're dealing with the last ummah. As a Muslim, we believe the last ummah is more significant than any previous ummah. Yes? Would you say that the last ummah is less favored by God than the previous ummah? Question. Would you say that the last ummah is less favored or more favored? The last ummah, we know it to be more favored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They got the best of prophets, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The heirs of the Prophet, the awsiya of previous prophets, awsiya of Musa were prophets, were anbiya themselves. Yusha ibn Nun was a nabi. Awsiya of Rasulullah, the successors of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, are not anbiya. That's the only difference. But they're awsiya. So the wasi of Musa is more significant, or the wasi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? If we don't know the answer, there's a problem. We are in that ummah. If we don't recognize the value of our ummah, if we don't recognize our value being part of the last ummah, then we cannot go higher and ascend and get closer and gain positions of qurb to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imams of Ahlul Bayt are our pride, the pride of the Muslim Ummah. The pride of the Muslim Ummah is to have someone like Imam Redha alayhi salam. If we read the history and see what he gave in terms of treasures to the Muslim Ummah, his words, his actions, his examples, his reactions, these are treasures that we all benefit from, and we need to recognize that. the Imams of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een, they guided, and this is their role, وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا, in different situations, different circumstances, whatever the circumstances where they had to guide the people. And through that we have examples of not just the 23 years of the Risala of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but we have 255 years of the Imams in presence until the occultation of the Imam of our time, Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, who is also guiding like the sun behind the clouds. As the hadith says, how do we benefit from the Imam? We know that he is guiding, however it is indirect guidance that we gain from the Imam of our time, Ajjalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to grant us the opportunity to learn about the lives of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt and follow in their footsteps in gaining nearness to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala through their words, through their wisdom, through their actions, their lives and the stories of their life. We ask Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to grant us the opportunity to visit them, visit Medina, visit Mashhad, visit the cities where our beloved Prophet and his family are buried, visit them in this dunya and be close to them in terms of our spiritual life in this dunya, and grant us the shafa'ah of the Prophet and his progeny, and especially Imam Redha alayhi salam in the hereafter. We ask him to make us amongst those who listen to what's said and follow what's best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. We have a couple of minutes if there are any questions. If not, I'll ask mu'mineen and mu'minat to remember all the marhumeen, especially those who passed away from the family members of those present in this gathering, as well as the family members of mu'mineen and mu'minat who established this place and who provide and who have continued to support masajid, to remember them all with the recitation of Al-Fatiha ma'a salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah. It is a celebration, so just a reminder, when I come down, don't remember your questions. It often happens. Sometimes I get down and people remember no answers. This is just in light of the celebration. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.